Good morning, everyone. It's welcome to Digging Deeper. It's Andrew with the Market Mindset. Today, we're welcoming the CEO of World Copper Limited, Nolan Peterson. Great to meet you. Let's just dive into what you're up to in Chile and copper in general. How's it going?
It's going great, Andrew. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to the show, and it is nice to meet you as well. Yeah, World Copper has a couple of exciting projects in Chile. We're in the process of closing a transaction to pick up a project in Arizona as well. We've had some exciting developments on our flagship asset, Escalones in Chile. Some great progress over the last few months, some progress upcoming, including a PEA that's coming out in Q1 of next year. So it's an exciting time. Obviously, copper is very strong. I understand that you've discussed with your viewers many times the fundamentals for copper. We obviously are very bullish on copper, and we want to be at the forefront of that. And so that's why we're targeting these assets that we have right now.
Yeah, so luckily we talk about copper all the time. We love it. And most people, when they first get into mining, they look at gold and think, oh, let's find a gold mine. Whereas today, I'd say it's so critical that we have these industrial use, technological use, and especially for, whether it's, this electric future that we want. And copper is leading the charge. And also, Chile is such a historic world leader in copper. So maybe you can kind of tell us about Chile today, what your relationships are like down there, and why that is such a great place to be and looking for.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks. So, obviously, Chile is the world's largest producer of copper. They have the world's largest reserves and resources. They have the world's largest copper company, Codelco, which is a state-owned company. They're obviously the giant in the copper industry and have always been supportive, and we believe will continue to be supportive of copper development. World Copper came about because we have a gentleman named Henk van Alphen, who is the CEO and major director of Wealth Minerals, which deals in lithium in Chile. Lithium is also very large in Chile. And he's friends with a gentleman named Marcelo Awad, who comes to us from Antofagasta, which is also a very large Chilean copper producing company. So they got together a couple of years ago and said, they saw the way that copper was trending, and they wanted to be a part of that in Chile. So leveraging our experience with gentlemen like Henk and Marcelo Awad, navigating the government and bureaucracy and the landscape of the business climate down there and applying their expertise. So that's why we picked up some of these attractive assets down in Chile and are, moving forward with development of them. So that's basically what we're leveraging off of. And, it's been a great success since we've been kind of spun off from Wealth Minerals.
That's good, because we usually spend a bit of time talking about management team and all that. But when we've got such a short amount of time, I just want to assure readers, reach out to me. I assure you the management and the board are loaded. There's so much depth of talent in this specific region and for copper that we won't spend a lot of time on that today. But please reach out to me. Happy to share you with a slide. And we can get you the list of people, or go to World Copper Limited, their website. You can see the deck on there as well, and you can see the whole team. It's really impressive, and I hate to skip over things that are so major, but it is taken care of. That's a checkbox I can definitely tell people has been taken care of.
Definitely.
And it's important because we see kind of Chile in the news a little bit. People get a little nervous with South America, but because it is such a key driver of their GDP. I don't know what your take is, but I would feel fairly comfortable and confident with the team you've got, with the role they've played in Chile, and with the absolute need for copper, that we're looking pretty good macro-wise there.
Yeah, I was actually speaking with Marcelo last week when I was in Santiago, just doing a site visit, which there should be some pictures coming out of very soon. And I asked him about the situation in Chile and, some of the questions people have been asking. And he said, at the end of the day, copper, the world needs copper, and Chile is going to have to come from Chile one way or another, because it's so important. And there's just so much that's in Chile. And if we need the amount of copper that the world needs, if we want to get it, you can't do it without Chile. So that's just the reality, and we are understanding of that. And it's about, like you said, getting the right people who know the right people and who can advance projects. And that's what we are doing down in Chile right now.
And it's important because it is such a major contributor to their GDP. And even if we weren't in the situation we're in today, you could say maybe there's more concern, but with the UN, the World Economic Forum, with all these major groups saying we need to find clean green solutions, they're going to be whispering to them as well. We need copper. We need this for all these solutions. We have to have it.
Exactly. I completely agree.
So great. So let's give a bit more specifics about the Escalante project. Is that the name of it again?
Escalones
yes, project.
Yeah. So the Escalones project is our flagship asset in Chile, and we picked it up a couple years ago. This is before I joined the company, because we felt that it was undervalued and not really well understood. And in the last year really, we've done a lot of work that has really changed the nature of this project. So just to give you a bit of a background, it's in the Santiago region of Chile. So it's about 100 kilometers southeast of Santiago. So it's in an area with good infrastructure, which is always important when you're developing a copper mine. And it's actually 35 kilometers east of El Teniente, which is the world's largest underground copper mine, and actually held by Codelco, again, the world's largest copper mining company. So we're in an area with good peers around us, good infrastructure, good development potential, and that's what that's so attractive about Escalones. Now, what we did 3 months ago, and I'm going to keep this very high level, is we changed the way this project was understood from a copper sulfide project to a copper oxide project. You have a question there? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because it ties into a bunch of different questions, and we'd had someone reach out as well in regards to ESG. And
yes.
When you're talking about actually getting minerals out of the ground, and we're talking realistically, you've got a resource you want to get out of the ground. It matters how it comes out of the ground if it's coming out green, and this is where we get into more of the details about a specific project. And that's why this is high level, but this is very interesting what you're just about to talk about. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So basically, there's two types of copper ore types in general: sulfides and oxides. We previously understood this project as a sulfide project. That doesn't mean that the oxides didn't exist. It's just the way our geologists classified it. And over the last year, we ran some metallurgical tests that gave us the opportunity to understand this resource and put out a resource statement as an oxide project. Now, what does that mean? It means a completely different way of mining, processing, and selling the material. And so a sulfide flotation operation, which most people are very familiar with, very large scale, very bulk tonnage, but they're low margin, generally lower grade for sulfides. You produce a concentrate, use 3 to 4 times as much water, which is obviously a big issue in Chile and Arizona and other dryish locations. And then you produce that concentrate, you have to put it onto a boat and ship it usually to a smelter, very polluting on the boat, very polluting in the smelter. And also the tailings from that process has to be kept in a tailings storage facility. Anyone in BC who is around for Mount Poly knows the significance of the risks involved with the tailings storage facility. Oxide heap leaching, in contrast, generally is for smaller operations, but we have a very large deposit here at Escalones. It turns out as an oxide deposit. It's the largest copper oxide project in development in Chile at the moment. As a sulfide project, which it was 4 months ago, it was kind of just a little bit too small to push forward on. So the natural progression would have been to advance it through exploration. But as an oxide project, it's simpler infrastructure. CapEx is it can be an order of magnitude lower. So I'm talking hundreds of millions instead of billions of dollars to build it. Operating costs are lower, margins are higher, use again 3 to 4 times less water, producing copper through electrowinning. So you're just using electricity, and happens that Escalones, all the power nearby is from hydro. So that's greener and cleaner. And when you get a pure 100% cathode, you don't need to ship it to a smelter, and you actually attract a premium on the market because it's so usable in its form right out of the gate of the mine. And I will tell you as well that there's companies like Tesla, I understand, and other major manufacturers that are looking for these greener supplies of copper, and they're starting to put in place traceability on how clean the copper they're buying is, and that's where Escalones really comes in. Not only will it be cheaper to develop, easier to permit, but also will attract a premium in the market. And it's really, I think, on trend. Not only is copper going to help to electrify the world and reduce greenhouse gases, but you want that copper to come from clean sources as well. There's no sense in getting it from a dirty location, right?
No, that's fascinating. So this is really what makes this stand out. And I mean, that's
Exactly.
because I know for some that are generalists that might be getting into a bit of the details, but we've talked about this before, is that this drive with ESG coming from the top levels, whether it's BlackRock, Vanguard, it matters, that chain of custody, the logistics of how things get, because all of that carbon is going to be included. Now, whoever it's allocated to, I don't know yet. But if you've got solutions where, listen, we can meet the demand for copper, which is needed for all the solutions, but we're going to use a lot less water, significantly less water, much less waste. The processing time is going to be minimal in comparison. These are all the checkbox they're going to be looking at going, okay, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but certainly this is a step in the right direction to go. We would like, and I'm only speaking speculatively, this would be a project of more interest than, say, one that's comparable size over somewhere else.
That is completely correct. And the way I like to characterize it for generalists is, you thought you had a tin mine and then you suddenly realized you had a gold mine. It just changes the ability for us to advance it, to develop it. That's why I immediately started us on a path to a preliminary economic assessment, so we could get some economics out there and start to benchmark against our peers. I think it's critical for the market to understand that. And again, this is a very fresh story, only 3 to 4 months old, which, as you know, in the mining industry is like, it's basically just yesterday. So it's
Yeah.
really new news.
So okay, this is great. Now, are we able, because we're at a very early stage here, are we able to throw any kind of numbers, guesstimations around on what we're talking about, so people can kind of get a bit of a sense? And this is very broad strokes, so I'm not trying to nail you down for any specifics, but just broad stroke.
Well, why don't I show you some slides here?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So this is so we have our resource. Do you see the slides?
Yeah.
426 million tons, grading at 0.37% copper, 3.5 billion pounds of copper in the ground with a strip ratio of under 1. Now, these numbers, they are large, but they may not have significance for many of the viewers. So I do have some benchmarks here. These are copper oxide projects that are in operations today, making cash flow for their owners, which are majors like Codelco, Glencore, Barrick, and Antofagasta. You can see how our 400 million tons with a grade of 0.37 stacks up against some of these projects. As sulfide projects, none of these would be in operation right now, simply not too low grade, not viable enough. But as oxide projects, they're very attractive. And as you can see, when these majors are looking to replenish their assets, this is something that we see the potential to be in the same ballpark on. We also have here just a good visualization of how Escalones, how large it is compared to other copper oxide projects in Chile right now. You can see here World Copper, Escalones on the left. Other majors, KGHM and Codelco, their oxide projects are smaller. And this is another one here, Marimaca. It's a company I like to benchmark ourselves against very much. They have a very good copper oxide project in Chile as well that we see a lot of similarities for. We're twice as large as them based on copper in the ground. And I've got internal benchmarking that shows here. Sorry to jump around a bit. This is just putting the numbers from their PEA that they delivered last year. We're 325% larger in terms of tonnage. Grade's a little bit lower, 250% more copper in the ground. Their PEA, 757 million at $3.15 per pound. Their market cap is 10 times what ours is right now. I think there's a little bit of ground that we can make up in a short period of time once we have our PEA out there.
Definitely. So this, I mean, that's what I always want to know for people too is, where's the sense of urgency? Why should I be getting in? Should I be looking at this now, or can I wait till spring, summer? And I think you've kind of alluded to it without saying it, is that this is ongoing. The PEA is being done right now. There's no time better than the present to be looking at. If you like this story and if you see these fundamentals, which are very attractive, there is urgency here.
Yes, definitely, Andrew. And yes, we also are in the process of closing a transaction, as I mentioned, to bring another fantastic copper oxide project into the fold in Arizona. This is a small company that's relatively new. We've only been listed a little over 10 months, so maybe most of the viewers have not heard of us. So it's a great opportunity. I think a lot of people are going to be hearing about us in the near term. We have a lot of news coming out on different fronts. It's not a sit and wait for drill results to come through. We'll have drill results. We'll have development results. We'll have corporate development opportunities. This is an exciting company to watch, and I'm very happy to be telling people about it.
Well, this is excellent. I just want to reiterate to everyone, if you want to have the report from Red Cloud, reach out to me. We can get their actual CFA analyst report on World Copper. Also, if you want any of the slides, you can reach out as well. We can send you some of these slides. And also, if you just want to have a bit of a conversation with me, if you know me and you're comfortable, I'll reiterate why this is special, why it's different, and it's a standout compared to some other projects, and how it all fits in. It's so many themes being pushed together, but that's what makes it exciting, is this whole ESG clean future with a clean metal that we need for the future. In a historic rich region with a new company, good capital structure, and a team. I mean, it's very attractive. So make sure you reach out to us. We can get you whatever details and any questions that you have as well, because this is going to have a lot of news flow. There's a lot going on, and like we always say, there's urgency to it.
Yes, thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Nolan. I really appreciate it. We look forward to the news flow, and also to see what happens with this next property as well, and the PA that's coming out.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Today's company presentations are brought to you by Red Cloud Financial Services and the team at Red Cloud Vancouver. Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network, giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. Tune in every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific for weekly corporate presentations. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.
We're back. And we're welcoming Arnoud Star Busmann, who's the president and CEO of MineHub. This is a very interesting, it's a shift. We're still in, of course, mining, but this is a very interesting story about blockchain, about technology and mining. Welcome to the show, Arnoud. Really looking forward to having this discussion with you.
Thank you, Andrew. Very nice to be here. A pleasure to be here as well.
Excellent. So give me the overall, just the high macro level, what you guys do, so that everyone gets on the same page here.
Okay, cool. I'll let me walk through the basics. So MineHub it's an enterprise blockchain-based platform with the aim of bringing efficiency, transparency, and responsibility to mining and metal supply chain. So anybody that knows anything about the industry understands that these supply chains, starting at the mine sites, they're long. They consist of sequence of transactions with many actors in there, crossing many borders, jurisdiction. For example, one of these supply chains, a miner selling cargo like iron ore to a buyer, but then may sell it to another buyer. Each of these transactions has underlying shipment or multiple. Many parties collaborate to get that shipped across the oceans, clear customs, etc., unloaded in discharge ports. These shipments are really hard work from an admin operational perspective. Just to some stats, so moving a container from Africa to the Netherlands involves many parties, like 20 different companies need to interact, hundreds of people are involved, 200 interactions between those parties. And if you look at what they do, they're really sending each other paper, emails, messages with information regarding shipment. It's customs clearance documents, it's invoices. They're chasing each other to get information, status, location, all kinds of activities that are not any value to the transaction itself. They're just processing it. It's labor intensive. Now, that consumes a lot of working capital, affects customer service. Some people estimate that global trade loses about 5 to 10% of the value of the goods that are being traded due to this handling of paper. If we look at a mining and metals supply chain industry, worth about $1.8 trillion per annum, that's $150 billion pain point on our hands and per annum. And that's just one of the pain points that we are addressing at MineHub. It's quite fundamental though. Another way to look at what we're doing is it's like a giant industry level ERP solution where we help coordinate workflows, digitalize processes across independent companies, across value chains, across borders, instead of what ERP traditionally does within a company, which is coordinating workflows across departments and functions. Now, through this digitalization process that we do, we actually free up data and high value information that's currently locked up. It's locked up in courier bags, lying on printers. It's sitting in email attachments. It's chat messages, people's heads, etc. And it's not available. People are processing it all the time, and they're trying to find it and reconciling it. But we have one version of it. We make it available electronically, instantly in real time. So companies can start using it for activities like stockpile optimization, working capital optimization, analytics, carbon emissions accounting, trade finance, etc. All those things that really add value to a company's competitive position and P&L are enabled by the information that is currently locked up. Now, that unlocking of high quality real-time data is going to be transformative. So it's in that optimizing performance, but also optimizing the resources that are being produced and consumed in these supply chains. Users will be able to make much better decisions much faster. For instance, shifting to just-in-time and just-in-case delivery models in supply chains, demand-driven production and supply chains also built in resilience. Think about a mining company that has real-time visibility of their customer stockpile, and they ship according to actual dynamic demand in their stockpile based on the production schedule of the mill rather than a fixed supply schedule. That will reduce excess production, reduce associated ESG impacts, reduce emissions, introduce more price stability, optimize working capital, and it will allow companies to compete on the basis of a digital customer experience in an industry like mining, right? So rather than commodity prices, availability, think of shipping iron ore across the world with a one-click Amazon type experience for your customer, rather than the paper-heavy processes of the current way of shipping. It will create more interesting work. People can focus on using information and processing it. New generation of workers, they're not interested in pushing paper around the office and checking it, etc. They want to have jobs that consume information. So it's also about workforce planning. I believe sincerely that we as a platform can help companies take enormous costs out of the system, which will find its way back into prices, shareholder returns, and innovation in cleaner supply chains. So MineHub, we haven't made this up. We've been developing this on the back of years of experimenting and learning in various commodity markets. It reflects the work that we've been doing with some of the largest and smallest participants in these industries. Some of it has been in the press in the last year, like work we did with majors like BHP, Vale, and China Baowu, for instance.
Yeah, so this is pretty fantastic. With this reverb. Because people don't really understand how much paperwork is involved in this. So if you're shipping something from one place to another, and all the parties and co-parties involved trying to get things to anywhere, and mining, people tend to think of as being 30 years behind in technology of everyone else, and they tease them because of that. And in a weird way, that's actually good, because you're the only company that's actually catching them up to speed. And in part because of your relationships with KPMG, with IBM, to say we have blockchain solutions that are going to transform not only workflow, but the flow of data information from mining. And that is so transformative. Maybe you can kind of just walk us through just so we have an absolute clear idea of how crystalline this is, and the massive impact that we can see on a macro scale.
I did a seminar the other day on how this would play out in iron ore market. So, for instance, if you think about being able to track inventory movements in the ports in China in real time, seeing if somebody picks up iron ore in that port, it's very remote location, but that truck picking it up being instantly available in the sales and planning systems in Brazil or in Perth. To add up to their new deliveries to those ports, it's fantastic optimization. But I guess where I see MineHub, what I find much more exciting than just taking paper out and getting efficiency in the supply chains, is where it sits in massive mega trends that are out there and that we're playing in, right? So we are enabling technology for it. So, for instance, ESG decarbonization. I think every front page. Every board meeting, top of the agenda. Very tough to do that. ESG, providing credentials, verifying compliance, accounting for all the emissions, not just direct emissions, but also the emissions of your suppliers and customers. A huge challenge. This is where we play. Digitalization of trade, enormous mega trend, accelerated since the pandemic started, with which really exposed fault lines due to reliance on papers. Right, so we see companies didn't get paid because paper couldn't cross a border because no one wanted to carry the paper over the border. Bank staff didn't want to touch it. They couldn't pay out on an LC because they didn't want to touch the document that they're supposed to check. And we're seeing some of those disruptions at the moment. We see big shifts in trade finance liquidity. Normally, the working capital is oxygen for these supply chains. Banks are a traditional provider of that oxygen. I wouldn't say they're running for the hills, but due to fraud and regulations, many of them are exiting. So we've got a growing trade finance gap. But who's stepping in? We need to have tools for new parties to come in and be able to finance that and channel that. If you look at the combination, we see digital trade, we see ESG, particularly decarbonization, and trade finance liquidity shift. If I look at what Mark Carney at COP26 announced, $130 trillion fund that they're going to deploy into greening supply chains and financing them, that's a big pocket of money that needs to be channeled into that. This is exactly where we're playing, right? So
this is great because it actually reminds me whenever I was speaking with Jamie Strauss at Digby, who works in ESG.
I know Jamie well.
Yeah, and you know Jamie, he's presented at the G7, and he was talking about these massive funds, BlackRock, Vanguard. They know mining is key, but they need to be able to get into it. And what you're providing is accountability to a large extent, but it's real-time accountability. It's not just you've hit some check marks and it's in a lawyer's office. This is real-time where you can set standards, you can look, and you can also see, like say with the carbonization, where in that chain of custody or what supply chain point, who's adding or subtracting to the issue or clarifying the solutions. And that, I think, is that massive fundamental shift that we're seeing, is being able to apply blockchain at real time to provide that chain of custody. Like, where's the material coming from? Is it from a place that is green, or is it not? So a lot of that ties in together, and we see this platform being the one right now that I know of. You can tell me if you've got major competitors, but you guys are really leading the charge right now.
I do believe we are. So the breadth and depth of the stuff that we're working on, the maturity of the technology, it's enterprise grade. We've got very solid cybersecurity certifications and credentials. We are working with the giants in the industry, but also small to medium enterprise companies. I think we've learned a lot. We are. I would confidently say that we are definitely one, if not the most advanced platform in this space at the moment. And a lot of the thing, keep in mind also that a lot of stuff that we're doing, yes, it's new technology, blockchain, but we're also bundling solutions that have very attractive comparisons out there in the market, right? So we have SaaS, we're a SaaS provider, it's ERP, it's collaboration technology, all those things together. And that on the back of probably the biggest transformative, disruptive technology out there, blockchain, it's pretty massive.
Yes, and this is what I found so appealing when I looked at you, is because we talk about these themes all the time, and a lot of us know what problems are out there, but when you see someone who's providing a solution saying, we acknowledge, we know what the problems are here, but we're going to tackle this, and believe me, this is not an easy problem to tackle, but you're going to tackle it, and you've started on that path. That's what makes MineHub very, very compelling. And I'll just reiterate, partnering with IBM and KPMG, for generalists out there that watch the show, those are names they'll immediately grasp onto and go, oh, okay, wow, they've got some great partners that see this vision and see how this can come together.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a couple of projects out there, but most of them are privately funded with a smaller focus, and they're either consortium owned or still earlier stage. There's not much opportunity for investors who want to get exposure to this new wave through the capital markets than us, right? There's nobody out there.
Now, let me finish off here because we have a question here that just came in. What kind of milestones or news flow do we expect to see or anything in the near future? So, I mean, you're getting in early on a major world economic theme that people will recognize we talked about. But what's something we should be looking for, before Christmas or in the new year, that we can kind of stuck to our charts and see what the urgency is with MineHub?
Yeah, I guess we have. There's been some news flow in the last couple of days where we show how we are delivering on our roadmap, stuff that we committed to, and I think it's starting to outline the contours of the cathedral that we're building. It's huge, right? And
yes.
But this is not that we're just doing this in the last couple of weeks. This is a combination, but we're taking it to market. We've also been working with large and small customers on road testing these parts of the cathedral, doing the tours, making sure that everything is working, and that the results from that, the visibility on that road testing and subsequent adoption, that's where the trends in the news flow are going to go to. There's some brand names that everybody will recognize that will become very, very visible.
Excellent. Well, we thank you so much, Arnoud, for being on the show. We're definitely going to keep up with this because this type of technology that helps get us further ahead and provide solutions for the future that everyone wants to see, this greening of the world and this electric future. I love when we find solutions that tackle this problem and are very unique. And this certainly is right up that alley. So I appreciate you spending the time with us.
Thanks, Andrew. It was a pleasure to be here.
All the best. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.